I am Nathan Simmons, and with me as always is Nathan Kwan, and this is Two Nates on Sports. Let's dive right into the big game today. It's the Atlanta Falcons versus the New England Patriots. Kwan, take it away. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, get ready for a shootout, America. So it's going to be a great game, hopefully, tonight between the top two quarterbacks in the MVP vote this year, and Tom Brady and Matt Ryan. Obviously, the Falcons bring the number one scoring offense in the league. So many playmakers on that side of the ball: Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Mohamed Sanu. And this is going to be the best offense that the Patriots have faced this year. And it's going to be interesting to see how that defense matches up.
For sure. And granted, the New England Patriots are coming in with technically the best scoring defense in the league too. But as you pointed out, like they haven't really been all that challenged outside of maybe last 2 weeks ago against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that also being said, I mean, they're coming in with a ton of experience. I mean, they just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and I mean, they got Tom Brady on their side, who's already won 4 Super Bowls, and this is his seventh trip to the big game. First time in Houston. Second time in Houston for the Super Bowl too, since 2003. And so the big question going forward is whether or not the Atlanta Falcons, with not only their high-powered offense but their speedy defense, with Vic Beasley, who led the league in sacks, Deion Jones, who was a finalist for a defensive rookie of the year, and Keanu Neal, who's also been very good and was their first round pick this past year, whether or not they can help at least slow down Tom Brady. What are your thoughts, and what's your pick?
Yeah, so I think a very big key in this matchup will be the cornerback and secondary play of the Falcons. So New England obviously has lost Rob Gronkowski for the year. They lost him in week 12. And they've really had a lot of no-name receivers step up. So obviously Julian Edelman has been one of the top receivers in the league. He was 4th in the league with 98 receptions this year. But Chris Hogan has actually emerged as a reliable downfield threat in the playoffs. He has 3 touchdowns and 275 receiving yards so far in their 2 playoff wins. Martellus Bennett, former Cowboy, has played pretty well in place of Gronkowski. He's been battling injuries coming into this game, and so we'll see how effective he is. But I really think the Falcons not having their top corner and having to rely on Robert Alford and Jalen Collins, that really gives the Patriots an advantage there. Also, on the other side, I really think secondary play is going to be big in this game. I think Malcolm Butler on Julio Jones will be a matchup to watch. So Jones really hasn't played a cornerback as skilled as Butler this playoffs. And so I really think the Patriots, with their defensive game plan, is they're going to try to prevent Julio Jones from making plays down the field. And so it's going to be up to secondary options like Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel, as well as the running backs coming out of the backfield, and Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, to step them and make those plays for Matt Ryan. Defensively for Atlanta, we talked about this a little bit last week, but how they cover the Patriots receivers and how they game plan against Tom Brady is going to be huge. So as Pittsburgh showed 2 weeks ago in the AFC Championship, you can't drop back in a kind of a soft zone because Brady's going to pick you apart. Teams are most effective against Brady when they disguise their coverages and force him to hold the ball, and then that's when he takes sacks. And so I think really the Atlanta secondary has to play an outstanding game. As you mentioned, Keanu Neal, Ricardo Allen, and in those 2 corners, they have to be really good in disguising those coverages and not get beat down the field. And then obviously up front, the pass protection has to be there. With all that said, I'm going to go New England to win this game. I think they have the better defense. I think the Super Bowl experience plays a huge factor. Tom Brady's trying to win his 5th and cement his status as the greatest of all time. And as much as we hate on Bill Belichick, he just has the big game experience. And I think defensively, I think they'll do enough to slow down Falcons down the field that they'll win a close game and another Super Bowl.
All right. Well, then I guess I gotta go with the other team, the Falcons, on this one. I think, like as you pointed out, you can't sit back and let Brady pick you apart. You have to get pressure on him, and The good thing for the Falcons is that they have probably the best person in the league for that, with Vic Beasley. I mean, again, he led the league in sacks, but I mean, as he's one of the best outside linebackers going this year, and he's this is only his second year too in the league. I think it's a lot of it is going to depend on how Vic Beasley is going to play. I think he's going to play very well, because on top of everything, like I'm not, while I wouldn't say like the New England Patriots offensive line is bad or anything, I will say that they haven't really faced anyone quite like Vic Beasley. I mean, and that's just because Vic Beasley is arguably the best in the league, and so I think the Falcons will be able to get a lot of will be able to get pressure on Brady, especially with Dan Quinn as their head coach, who again is the architect behind those Seattle defenses that arguably could have won two in a row if it weren't for Malcolm Butler. But I mean, just like in that game, which they were able to successfully get pressure on Brady, I think they'll be able to get pressure this time with different looks and all that. I mean, and another big thing that's going to really help the Falcons is that they have such a strong ground game. I mean, and granted, New England has LeGarrette Blount, and LeGarrette Blount has been very good this season too. I think he leads the league in rushing touchdowns, or at least the AFC. But at the same time, like it's a 1-2 punch. They can either hit you with Devontae, they can hit you with Tevin Coleman, and they can both not only run it, but they also pass catch out of the backfield. And so I think there's just too many weapons for the New England Patriots to account for. And while I can't discount Bill Belichick and his ability to game plan from game to game, and in his ability to possibly shut down a lot of those weapons, there's just too many, and I think the Patriots have lost too much talent on that side of the ball to really count for all of them. The only way I think that, and I mean, that being said, it's hard to discount Belichick and his ability to spy on other teams. Apparently, there was a drone that flew over the Falcons practice, so I don't know. Maybe he's got some good information. I mean, obviously with his friend Trump's Russian spying ties, maybe that comes into play, but we'll see. I don't know, but I'll still go with the Falcons.
Yeah, and another note about the game. So special teams always seems to play a big factor, and so both these teams actually have really good return games. And so if one of them can break a big play, that could really make a difference. And obviously, turning the ball over, turnovers, and time of possession and special teams always seem to play a big role. So we'll see what happens tonight in Houston.
Definitely. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, shout out to Dion Lewis for his big game against the Texans. I mean, he could definitely become an X factor in this game as well.
Yeah, and also shout out to NRG Stadium. So the roof actually wasn't welded shut, despite it not being open for a game since 2014. The forecast actually right now is for like cloudy skies, and so if the rain holds off, they're actually going to open that thing up, and we'll see what Lady Gaga does at halftime from the roof.
Yeah, party time. Excellent. Yeah. All right, let's, I guess, move on to the NBA. I mean, your Rockets. What's going on with them?
Yeah, going through a bit of a struggle here. January wasn't really a good month for them. The schedule was really brutal. They finally got home and started a long homestand this past week. Overall, they were 2-2 this past week. The defensive struggles continue. They really weren't in a game in Indiana last Sunday. And then on Thursday night, they blew a 20-point lead with 8.5 minutes to go against the Hawks. Atlanta went on a 36-11 run to end the game. It was a combination of three-pointers not falling. So this team has been really hot and cold lately with the three-pointers, and they couldn't hit any shots. The transition defense has been really bad. The team, when they turn the ball over or miss a long three, it just doesn't get back on defense very well. Rebounding continues to be an issue as they're undersized inside. And Clint Capella really has kind of struggled since that injury. He hasn't really rotated well on the weak side, and really doesn't have the perimeter speed to kind of stay with some of these bigs that can shoot from the outside. Friday night, it was a good comeback overtime win against the Bulls. The Bulls had actually had a pretty impressive win in Oklahoma City on Wednesday night. And James Harden had another 40-point game. So he continues his MVP candidacy. even while the team has struggled a bit. But I want to mention Yao Ming briefly. So he had his jersey retire on Friday night, and well deserved. Congrats to Yao. He's actually the reason I became a sports fan at all. So I started following him and the Rockets in 2003 during his rookie year, and I was just curious, like the rest of us, to see how he would do coming over from China. Back then, it was unheard of for a kind of international player to be the number one pick, and he really carried a whole nation's expectations on his shoulders, and he definitely lived up for it. He got better every year he was in the league. First with that team with Steve Francis and Gatino Mobley that got to the playoffs in 2004. And then when Tracy McGrady came here from Orlando, he really blossoms into one of the top centers in the game. It was him and Shaq at the time, and sometime around 05, 06, he surpassed Shaq, and he was dominant. In 06, 07, he was actually averaging 27 points and 10 rebounds and 2 blocks a game. That's MVP level. Unfortunately, he went down with injury, and then that's when the injuries kind of set him back. He missed 07, 08. He missed a 22-game winning streak with a left foot injury. He did come back to represent China in the Beijing Olympics, coming back within a couple months on that foot, which is very impressive. And obviously, he was the face of those Olympics for that country. And I would say his final kind of hurrah was in 09 when he led the Rockets out of the first round for the first time in 12 years. And really, that team, I truly believe, had a shot of winning a championship. They took the Lakers to 7 games. Despite losing to Dikembe Mutombo, Yao went down in that series. T-Mac was already out. And Denver and Orlando, which the Lakers beat on the way to the championship, never faced as tough a team as that Rockets team. And so for a relentlessly hard worker who came back from multiple surgeries, each time stronger, 100% class act, great teammate, carried a whole nation, and opened up the door for international players to come play in the NBA. Congratulations to Yao Ming, 2016 Hall of Famer, and the number 11 retired in the rafters at Toyota Center.
Definitely well deserved. Absolutely agree. I remember when he came into the league, I was a sports fan a bit before that. I mean, that was like when I first started also becoming a sports fan as well. But yeah, I remember how big a deal it was, and it was also just like, I mean, at the time, like obviously, like if you didn't know, like my mom's from Hong Kong, so I'm half Chinese, so there weren't a lot of like famous Chinese people in America, and specifically in sports, and so it was like sort of like nice to sort of see someone that from China come over and have success right away, pretty much for all intents and purposes, and sort of become one of the not only one of the best players in the West, but I would say one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, and I just like his phenomenon was just felt around the league. I mean, the Rockets for years, even before they really became like contenders, they sold out their road games because everybody wanted to see Yao. The 7'6" guy came over from China. Asian Americans from every city would come out and watch games in person, and he was kind of the start before Yi Jianlian came over. And I remember a game between the Bucks and the Rockets, 2 kind of mediocre teams, was probably the most watched NBA game ever because of all the Chinese people that were watching overseas. And just every teammate, every coach that's ever interacted with him has just said nothing but the best about his character, about his work ethic, and about how great of a teammate he was. And so definitely well deserved. And I was really happy when I heard that his jersey was going to be retired.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think basketball is nearly as popular in China as it is today without Yao. And I mean, if anyone has ever seen like the basketball fandom in China, like you'll see how passionate a fan base that is. I guess we now have to start talking about the Mavs and start taking them seriously now. They've now won 9 of their last 12. And a huge part of that has been former of Dallas-born and current Dallasite Spud Webb, and his name is Yogi Ferrell. Yogi Ferrell has been pretty much has helped lead this team past both the Cleveland Cavaliers and the San Antonio Spurs, and had a clutch three-pointer against the Portland Trailblazers on Friday. And so he's basically Yogi Mania seems to be the second coming of Linsanity. Although at the same time, like Yogi Ferrell, like he's come out. He didn't exactly come out of nowhere. He came from Indiana, one of the best basketball programs in the nation. He was the leader of assists in school history, and then on top of that, like he's also always been known for his like strong shooting ability and good shooting form. And so to me, it's like kind of crazy that this guy was undrafted coming out of school. But I mean, here we are now, and he's helping this Mavs team win. And I'm super stoked about that. But on top of it, he's not doing it on his own. Seth Curry has sort of followed in his brother's footsteps a bit in some form. I mean, granted, I don't think he's ever going to reach the same levels as Steph, but Seth Curry has really contributed. He's helped. He's been very good distributing the ball and getting to the rack. And he's sort of continued that trend with former Sacramento Kings guards who either get drafted really late in the second round or go undrafted. Who seem to start showing potential with the Kings, and then the Kings, for whatever reason, decide like, nah, we're good. We all we need is just like five like centers, and we're good. And they let them go, and they contribute right away with other teams. But yeah, this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the Mavs are doing. I mean, they're now in playoff contention in spite of the fact that they are under 0.500. They now probably don't have a shot at the number one overall pick, and probably are not going to be able to get Markelle Fultz. But maybe Yogi Ferrell and Seth Curry can make up for that. But we'll see. I mean, Ferrell just signed a 2-year contract with the Mavs, and so we'll see how this goes. Do you have any thoughts on that, Nathan?
Yeah, the 8 spot is right there for you guys. You guys are 2 games back now. Denver really doesn't scare me as a team, and Portland's gone through all sorts of struggles, as we mentioned last week. So it's right there, and get in the playoffs. Anything can happen. Granted, Golden State is a nightmare matchup for anybody, but good for the Mavs to discover Ferrell out of nowhere. And as you mentioned, coming out of college, he definitely has the jump shot ready and a good ball handler and has the quickness to really play in this game. His questions on him were just his size as a 6 foot, 180-pound point guard and athleticism. And so really, I think the things are there for him to be successful in this league are his jump shot and his ball handling and his quickness. So good for the Mavs and for the city of Dallas to have something to watch between now and the baseball season coming up.
Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, technically the Stars would have done that too, but they've been so injured as well. But I mean, on top of all that, with Yogi, the thing that really stands out is his basketball IQ and his ability to sort of like anticipate passing lanes. I mean, I mean, he's so good on defense, which is absurd to me because I mean, like you mentioned that he's like 6'1". You know, he doesn't look 6'1" at all. I mean, he looks much smaller than that. I mean, he also has a very like short wingspan as well. But he's like his basketball IQ makes up for that so well because he's able to get steals from that. I mean, he's not going to really block anyone, but I mean, like he's a point guard. That's more of a front court thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, he's incredible, absolutely incredible. I mean, we'll see how long this hot streak lasts. He can both catch and shoot and pull up for a three. So I mean, it's not exactly the only way I haven't seen him shoot a three is from the corner. But I mean, most of the time a point guard's not going to be in the corner for that. But yeah, no, he's been incredible. And I mean, you know, also at the same time, I mean, the Golden State Warriors did they? I think they lost to Sacramento last night, right?
They did.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, anything's possible at this point. So. Maybe we get 1 or 2 games. Maybe we get four. You can't any given week. Any given week in the NBA.
And it'd be
Uh,
poetic justice for payback for 2007.
yes, yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. That was a great year, especially after coming off that heartbreaker of an NBA Finals. Like, we'll finally get them. We'll finally get them. And no, no, yeah, that really stuck.
Dirk
But
won the
yeah,
MVP.
he did, and he accepted it after getting knocked out of the first round. Yep. Yeah, but anyway, I think we can move on now from that. But yeah, so not this weekend, but last weekend, I ended up visiting San Antonio for a bit for Royal Rumble weekend, which, if you guys don't know, that's wrestling. So I've kind of started getting into wrestling a little bit outside of, like, obviously, like, having to do my work and stuff. But I went down for both the minor league for WWE, which is called NXT, as well as the major show, and I'll do a quick rundown of that. So the NXT show was so the thing about NXT is that they've actually outshone, like, the main roster for over a year now. But now that everyone from the NXT that made them successful has moved on to the main roster, they've been sort of kind of a bit on the decline. But even then, they were able to really pull out a good show. The first matchup was Ty Dillinger, who's called himself the Perfect 10, versus Eric Young, and Sanity, which is this weird, like, sort of like stable that sort of brings in a lot of, like, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, it was a good overall show. The big story out of that is the person that came in as the NXT champion, Shinsuke Nakamura, who's arguably the greatest wrestler in the world, and has been so for the past been in that conversation for the past 3 to 4 years. He there seems to be an inline story of in-story injury for him on his knee, and because of that, he ended up losing it to Bobby Roode, who's been doing some great character work, but at the same time, he hasn't exactly been great in ring. But that being said, I think he's going to be able to carry this promotion going forward with his character work. And basically his character is a competent Donald Trump in one way, basically like a Fortune 500 CEO, but actually knows what he's talking about. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting to watch. And then the next night was Royal Rumble. That was a pretty good show. That significant things from that. John Cena won his 16th WWE title, which ties him with the overall record set by Ric Flair. Let's see what else. And the other significant thing from that, aside from I think the women's match was pretty good. It was a solid championship match between Bayley and Charlotte. Charlotte's also is another interesting story because she's actually the daughter of Ric Flair. But anyway, she maintains her pay-per-view streak since being called up. And I think she's also won 16 in a row pay-per-views. But anyway, but yeah, so the person that won the Royal Rumble, which is basically 30 wrestlers enter into a ring, and then whoever gets thrown over the top rope and hits the ground with 2 feet, they're eliminated, and the last one standing is going to main event WrestleMania, which is the biggest show of the year for WWE. And the person who won it this year was Randy Orton, who's been with the company forever. This is his second time winning. And so there's been a lot of talk about who's possibly going to face. Right now, it looks like he's at the moment he'll face John Cena, which has been done to death since 2009, 2010. But there's also been talk of Bray Wyatt possibly winning the WWE Championship, and then him finally getting his chance to main event WrestleMania, and that would be his first singles title since being on the main roster. And it's been well deserved at this point with him, with the character work he's been doing and his in-ring ability. But yeah, that was wrestling for a whole weekend in San Antonio. And yeah, another thing I want to mention: Survivor Series is going to be in Houston, so if you ever want to check them out, you definitely will have a chance this November, Nathan.
finally, we have some news and notes before we go. So I want to first mention the 27 NFL Hall of Fame class was announced last night. And so quarterback Kurt Warner, formerly of the Rams and the Cardinals. You had defensive end Jason Taylor, primarily with the Dolphins. Running back LaDainian Tomlinson, long-time carrier for the Chargers. Running back Terrell Davis of the Denver Broncos. Kicker Morton Anderson, who played forever. Kenny Easley, a safety for the Seahawks. And Jerry Jones, the owner and chairman of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep. Yeah, Jerry Jones. I guess he does. I would say he deserves it for being able to sort of like resurrect that the Dallas team in the early '90s and turn them back to their former glory as America's team, and being able to sort of continue that sort of prestige in spite of the fact since basically for the past 20 plus years they have sort of fallen short of that moniker. But even still, he's sort of been, I wouldn't say he's been revelatory in his ability to sort of promote teams and sort of helping the NFL overall sort of become the biggest sports league in the nation. But yeah. And on top of that, among the awards handed out last night, there was Dak Prescott, who won Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he offered to split it with Ezekiel Elliott, which was a nice moment. And then Jason Garrett won Coach of the Year, which was surprising considering how our season ended this past year, in so much that if Jason Garrett had been able to run down the clock, we maybe would have gone to overtime instead of Aaron Rodgers and Mason Crosby conspiring to knock us out. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there. Anyway,
regular season award, man.
I know it's a regular season award, but still, even still, man, still mad about that. We should have won. But yeah, so that happened last night, and so that was nice to see. That was nice to see at least some Cowboys reminders that they've got a bright future going forward. They just got to finally get over that hump and break that curse. On top of that, shout out to women's basketball, who are right now on a 16-game winning streak and going into Baylor, who have a 14-game winning streak, and this matchup should help decide who's in the driver's seat for the Big 12 going into the NCAA tournament. Shout out to them. Hopefully they can pull it out. Well, I guess shout out for Pouncey, who a wide receiver out, I believe, Florida, who was one of the few people who chose Texas that day. Good for him. Herman. I think we've talked about this before. I mean, Texas is definitely fallen off that pedestal, and Herman's really got to turn this around for us to have a chance to be able to recruit again, as well as Charlie was a pretty good recruiter. You got to give him credit for that. So hopefully we could somehow return to that within the next year or two. But we'll see.
Hey, I'll take 2- and 3-star recruits that really play hard and develop into good players over 5-star recruits that are busts anytime, man.
Oh, agreed. I do agree with you on that. But also being said, having 5-star recruits definitely helps. I mean, if Alabama has been any sort of indication, having the best recruits can lead to at least making it to the college playoffs, which at this point I don't even know if that's going to happen anytime soon for Texas.
Yeah, let's get to 8-4 first.
Yeah, let's get a winning season at least. Let's get a winning season and finally win a bowl game.
Yeah, but I will say Tom Herman, that's what he did at Houston. University of Houston really doesn't really get those 4- and 5-star recruits, and what he was able to do was turn it into a successful program, getting players that maybe were passed up by bigger programs and turning them into playmakers, and really great for the team. I have a shout out.
Except for Ed Oliver, though. Yeah. Oliver, who's a 5-star recruit and arguably the best defensive player in the state right now. But
yeah, that dude is a monster. I want to shout out Chris Correa. He's currently serving federal prison for his involvement in the St. Louis Cardinals hacking the Houston Astros a couple of years ago. Commissioner's office awarded the Astros 2 draft picks from the Cardinals, as well as $2 million as kind of compensation for the hacking. And Correa kind of flashed out, saying that the Astros were hacking on the Cardinals, and that's why he retaliated and hacked the Astros, and that the Astros should be punished as well. And so to that, I'll say he has zero credibility. So there's never been any evidence of the Astros doing any hacking. So I'll say have fun in prison, buddy. And thanks for the draft picks.
Yeah. Well deserved on his part. I wonder how he got in. Did he say that he was like Carlos Correa's like brother or like father or something? Like, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. I mean, granted, he's probably in white collar prison, so it's probably if Wolf of Wall Street taught me anything, those are not nearly as bad as the prisons that we have for regular folks like you and me. But yeah. But yeah. Anyway, that's. Yeah, well deserved on his part. Congratulations to him. But yeah, anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. Just hope it's a good game tonight. Last year was not a good game. It was a lot of defense and kind of poor quarterback play on both sides and low scoring. So I think this year will definitely be different. We have 2 of the top quarterbacks this year and two defenses that have struggled at times. And so let's hope for a great game. And
yeah.
We'll see if there's any awkward moments with commissioners handing trophies over to quarterbacks that they may or may not have suspended for 4 games.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, like, if it's anything like the last time they were in Houston for a Super Bowl, I'd be down with that. I think that would be a pretty decent matchup. That'd be a good game. If they're able to get anything like the last time they were there, I would say it's a good game. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much about it. Hopefully not anything too crazy like for halftime like what happened with that Super Bowl, but we'll see. We'll see.
Malfunction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's hope the tether or whatever Lady Gaga's hanging on from the ceiling is secure. That wouldn't be good on national television.
Yeah, like let's hope that the meat dress that she puts on is well fitted.
Okay. Hey, I'll talk to you next week, man.
I'll talk to you then. Have a great day. Have fun with Super Bowl.